This is Martin Perdomo, the elite strategist, and you're listening and watching Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast. And today I have my good friend, Rose. Rose is the founder of Urban Teach, and she's got a tremendous platform where she's educating people on real estate. And today I want to talk about real estate. But before we get into that, Rose, this is your home. You've been here before. This is not your first time here. Thank you for being with us here today. Thank you for joining me and accepting my invitation to kick it and talk about real estate. Before we get started, for those that don't know you, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and what's your experience in the real estate arena?
Yes. Thank you for having me. As always, love having these discussions with you. A little bit about me. So I am originally from the Bronx, New York. So I was raised in the city. My corporate experience as a hospitality executive for 20 plus years, no college degree, just kind of worked my way up the ladder with a lot of hard work and, self-education, which I'm all for. And then, just ventured out into New Jersey about 10 years ago, decided to leave the city life and the very expensive rat race, and then crossed over into New Jersey. Started with buying my first multifamily home. I used FHA loans, rehabbed my own place, used the whole BRRRR strategy to get money out and kind of just put it to work. So I've been doing that for about 10 years now. In the market, I started Urban Teach about 4 years ago just to help other people, learn the system, learn processes, and kind of start building cash flow with residential real estate, just to secure, that extra income, not just relying on work.
And you're doing that successfully right now with helping people, and you got a large following online, and I know that you're impacting and helping a lot of people. Thank you for that, because that's we need more of that in this world. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, that is the goal.
That's amazing. So the point is, she's got a ton of experience. She's in the game. She's actively in the business. Not only that, she's also passively in the business. She's my partner as well, because she's invested in one of my deals. She's invested in our 57-unit apartment complex. So she understands this business. She fundamentally and actively, right? Because there's different ways to understand this, conceptualize this. You can understand it by reading it in a book, or you can understand it by actually doing it and being in the line of fire. And you have that from multiple angles, right? You have it from the active and the passive. So but the point is, I know that you fundamentally understand this, really, really understand this. So with that being said, I know that, you travel in the real estate investor space, and you also have a podcast too. What's the name of your podcast? Why don't you share that?
Yeah, so I have a bilingual money and business podcast called Dinero Twins.
Awesome.
So I have a co-host, and we talk about everything money and business. We don't try to just do real estate, but we talk a little bit about everything, networking, setting up systems, meeting the right people, having that business acumen that, you need to be successful. But we also do it in Spanish, which is our big, it's just pushing us to, think outside the box and come up with ideas and words that normally we don't use in everyday life. So it's working really good.
Fantastic. So being that you have that podcast and you guys are talking about all of these different subjects, I want to chop it up with you about, hey, what are you seeing in the marketplace, right? So the market's kind of, to me, in my opinion, we're on very shaky grounds. We're experiencing some challenges in the capital markets. The capital markets do not like Wall Street, although as I record this, the Wall Street is performing well. But when this whole Ukraine and Russia thing happened initially, the capital markets right before got really shaky. I'll give you an example. I have I'm refinancing my a chunk of my portfolio. And I was in Mexico. I was on vacation with my wife, and I got an email from my lender saying, "Hey, Martin, call me when you can." He didn't want to call me, so he emailed me. And he's like, so I got on the phone, immediately called him, right? And he's like, "Listen, it looks like this thing is happening, and our investors on Wall Street, because everyone sells the loans to Wall Street. Our investors on Wall Street are very They're very sketchy. They're very nervous right now about what's happening there. So your rate of 4.25 just went up to 5.5, just like that, just like that overnight. And he used the term inflation. So I believe it's inflation. And I also believe that it was fear. And I also believe it's also greed on their side, because they're looking at guys like me and they're saying, hey, why am I giving this guy a 30-year fix when rents just went up between 15 and 30%, depending on the city. And yet I'm only charging him 4.5%. And yet he's, it's a little bit of greed, I believe. So there's a lot of things happening in the market. We're expecting a rate hike this month, right, from the feds, although the federal interest, the mortgage rates has already gone up. And I want to get your thought process on it. I want to get your thought. How are you viewing this market? Where do you see things going? And what are the potential threats that you see in your travels within the real estate arena?
Yeah, so I experienced kind of something similar. So last week we went and got a pre-approval for a line of credit, actually. Actually, we did it a few weeks ago, and it was one interest rate. And my lender called me on the same day that they announced the takeover in Ukraine. It was literally that same day around lunchtime. She's like, hey, Roz, I just have to let you know that the number I gave you a couple of weeks ago, it's now literally like 1.5 higher than what we got. And she's like, I never saw a number like this. I don't know what's going on. I just want to let you know that I'm trying to get more information, but this came from, the top. I'm just getting in touch with my clients now to let them know that this is kind of happening. And I thought the same thing. I said, you know what? The lenders are catching on. They're trying to get their piece of the pie. And they're using this as an excuse to do so, right? Because again, a whole 1.5 in a matter of 2 weeks, we know things are going up, but they're going up very small, right? 0.25. And it just got announced at the beginning of the year. We're only in March. So I found that very, very strange. But needless to say, I think there is a threat of us getting hit with higher interest rates. That's coming. That there's no way around that.
That's for sure.
I just think that we're going to have to be a little more skilled with, trying finding that extra 1% somewhere else. So we're going to get it on the rental side. We're going to get it on other income, right? We're going to get it on we're going to have to be very, very uniquely strategic about how to do this, right? Going forward.
Got it. And that makes sense. That makes sense. So what potential threats are you seeing from your vantage point in the marketplace? Consider this, okay? Consider that inflation, quote unquote, is 7.5. That's incorrect, by the way. It's more like 15%. When you listen to economists and some of the economists, just food, food prices is up by, I think meat is up by 33 or 30 something percent, just meat. I mean, when you that's the average 7.5%. But when you look at the essentials of what we actually use every day, it's a lot more than that. It's more like 15%, but we'll go with the 7.5%. When you think of that inflation, the cost of everything going up, we have now the issue in Russia, which is going to have an effect on us. Whether I fundamentally, I've studied this and I've looked at this, and I'm going to get into that in a minute with you to get your thoughts on it. But it's going to have an effect on us as investors, I think. But let's just put that to the side right now. So you have 7.5% inflation. You have 15 to 30% growth in rent last year. And I just came back from a conference in Colorado, and they were all talking about a commercial investors conference. And the general consensus was that rents are going to continue to go up in 2022, which is absolutely bonkers to me. That's nuts to me. So when you consider 15 to 30% increase last year, you can consider 21% increase in values of houses, single family houses last year, year over year. And you only are getting a 4% increase in wages. What do you see? What are your thoughts when you hear those statistics?
It's going to be a very scary situation for the working family. That's all I can say. And I've been saying it for weeks. Like, if people are really sitting here just waiting for things to come down, I don't think it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like it. In our lifetime, things usually go up little by little, right? But I mean, I'm feeling it too. Every time I go food shopping, I'm like, how is this pack of Oreos now $5 when it was $2.50, 6 months ago? To the point that I'm like, okay, I can afford to still get my kids, whatever knickknacks they want. But what about that family that can't, and it's very crazy to me. But I do think rents are going to continue to go up with no doubt. I think that there's a huge influx of people that are now getting the real estate itch, right? They're like, oh, I'm reading about real estate and I'm learning about investing and I'm learning about equity and I'm learning about this. And maybe I thought I was going to rent for the next 10 years, but now I want to buy a home. And those same people are now realizing that it's going to be a lot more expensive to get into a home, right? They might not necessarily afford to. So they're going to have to go rent again, right? They're going to have to move and get out of these big cities. And that's going to be, a benefit to us because we're on the other side of it. But I think for the person that's not an investor, that does not own anything right now, it's going to be really tough for them to get in.
Yeah, I was having the same discussion with my lender, that same lender that called me. And so they do hard money loans, they do bridge loans, they do long-term debt, they do all of my stuff for my flips and my long-term debt. And he said to me that them as a lender are taking the position right now that they're not working with newbies, right? So they're not giving money to new investors because you got to really know what you're doing in this marketplace. You got to really understand it, which is what to echo what you're saying, right? It's expensive. And if you don't know how to buy, if you don't really, really know how to buy, you really don't know how to look at those numbers, you can find yourself in trouble.
Right.
Absolutely. You can find yourself in trouble. So when I think about this, Rose, as I give this stuff some thought, because I'm constantly studying the market, what's weird is that we have on average, national average is between 6 to 8, 9 weeks of inventory, of real estate inventory on the marketplace. You got prices going up. You got gas prices going up. When you think about that, right? Inventory being so low, prices of everything being so high, people's wages not keeping up with inflation. Nope. What do you believe the idea that the country is going to become like Europe, a renter's nation? Do you buy that notion?
Maybe not just yet. It's going to take a little longer probably, but I think that gap is going to widen. That gap of non-home ownership families is going to get bigger because again, 10 years ago, you can have a household with 2 working middle-class adults and they could afford a single family home. And that's not going to be the case in another year if things continue to go up. Middle income is not cutting it anymore. So when you think about having kids and, paying for daycare and your car and your insurance and your mortgage, your utilities are going up, right? Everything's going up. So it's like, if your salaries are not in line with that growth, you're going to be stuck renting. That's going to be the only way, because the other thing we got to look at is debt, right? So credit card debt's not going down. College tuition is not going down. People still want to take their vacations every year, right? So they still want to live life a little. So it's going to be very hard for those people that maybe were in a position 2 years ago to get into a property, for them to get into a property now or in the next 12 to 18 months, because the things are just crazy.
Yeah, they're tough. I was thinking the same thing you said when you said about the Oreo cookies. A couple of days ago, my property manager we were going to get on our weekly call for our 57 units, as a matter of fact, reporting and catching up on what's happening and vacancies and turns and things like that as a team. And she was like, I need copies of these keys. So I was like, here, give them to me. I'll just run to Walmart up the street and make the copies real quick. I'll come right back, right? And I'll make the copies for you. You keep doing whatever you're doing, your paperwork. So I went to Walmart and it was a bunch of keys. It was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 keys. It was for a few properties we just bought. We like to keep copies in house, right, for all of our properties. And I go and I make copies, and it's $4 a key. $4 a key. I called my wife and I was like, babe, I just spent like $24 for copies of keys.
Weren't they like $1, right?
Like,
they're like $1.
Yeah. I was like, they're $4 a key. And she started ranking on me. She was like, dude, you're acting like you're broke. I was like, it's not the point, babe. It's like, dude, $4 a key. I remember $1.50, $1.79. Like,
yeah,
$4 a key. And it was like a shock to me. It wasn't that I didn't have the $24. It was just like, it was a shock. Like, holy crap. Like, man, things have gone up dramatically, right? So how does middle America solve for it, right? What strategies and what can we tell? What advice would you give to someone that wants to come into this game, that wants to buy a home? Because I know you're constantly educating people on how to buy a home. What advice are you giving someone that is newly that wants to buy a home or wants to buy their first investment? What kind of advice would you give that person in this marketplace?
A is all about that financial, what do you call it? Discipline. Like the discipline's got to be there, because maybe last year you were able to splurge and take that 2 vacations a year and take your kids to, Disney once a year. But if you're serious about getting into a house, you're not going to be able to do that, right? So sacrifices are going to have to happen. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, don't come to me and say you don't want to give anything up and you want to buy a house, because it's not going to go hand in hand, right? You're going to have to give up some things to get your numbers to work. And then B is, looking outside of area, which is what we're doing. Myself, in my household, we're like, if we're going to invest, we're going to invest outside of our immediate area, because we know it's so expensive here. So I tell families all the time that I'm working with, I'm like, look, if you have an option of, switching careers or working from home, things like that do help, because you're no longer tied to a specific market. You could free yourself up a little bit, move out another hour away from the city. If you only have to go into the city once or twice a week, you're more flexible. You can do that now. You can afford a little more. But some people, they just want to stay where they are, and that's okay. But I think that, if they don't start being more flexible with what they're looking for, with their money habits, it just is going to become very, very difficult.
What have you found in your students? Because like I said, you have a large following. What have you found with your students and the people that you work with, the biggest challenge from those that want it and actually do it, and those that want it and can't do it? Because I'm using the word can't very strategically here, and can't do it. What's the difference that you're finding in those two people?
The people that can't do it is really because they either don't want it bad enough. They just say they think they might want it because it's a thing, right? They're following the hype. And the other half of them, they don't want to give anything up. They're like, but I still want to drive my BMW, and I still want to go on vacation twice a year. And I still want to go to the high-end stores and shop every 2 weekends, right? Because I deep dive into their financials in order to help them get where they need to be. So when I bring up certain examples, I'm like, I didn't take a vacation for 2 years when I got my first house. I didn't get a manicure for 6-9 months because I knew I had to carry floors and go to Home Depot and carry paint. I didn't do my hair for months. Like, these are things that are going to happen for ladies anyway. So when I finally start hearing the stories of what they can get to their metrics of the steps they need to take, I understand that a lot of people don't want to give things up. That's part of it.
Yeah, the discipline, right? They don't. Let me ask you this question. What do you find that's the biggest difference with that struggling person, right? That struggling middle-class person that's struggling financially, and that upper middle class or upper class person that's thriving financially? What do you find is the biggest difference in your experience?
I think, well, funny enough, I know upper class that are still struggling, even more so than middle. Because
Tell me about that.
The spending habits are different, right?
So they're poor. So that's not an upper class person. That's not the person I'm looking for. Just because you make more money, that doesn't make you wealthy, right? So someone can make 100,000 and have $900 or $101,000 in expenses. That doesn't, they're one paycheck away from being bankrupt, right?
Yes.
Or they could make 100,000 and have $99,000 in expenses. They're
Right.
one paycheck away from being bankrupt. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that savvy investor, that financially free person that is savvy, that is good, right? Because that person has a poor mindset. That person hasn't built the muscle. I have a friend, very wealthy friend. We were on the phone one day and she's like, Warren, I had to build, she's very, very wealthy person. She was like, I had to build this money muscle, savvy investor.
Yeah.
And that person that you just mentioned doesn't have that muscle. So they have a high income, but they have a low financial IQ. They don't know how to invest. They don't know how to make money. They don't know how to, I'm talking about that person that's savvy. Even versus that person, what's the difference with them? I think you answered it in when you just said it. What's the difference with that person that is thriving financially and is financially free versus that person that's not, or is one paycheck away from being foreclosed on?
Yeah, I think is the mindset and the sacrifices, right? Giving things up is very different. It's two totally different worlds, right? This person over here is like, I worked really hard these 40 hours, so I earned a shopping spree at the mall this weekend, right? Or I earned that dinner in the Heights with the bottle on my table, right? You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The other side, which is like, you know what? I worked really hard this week. I made the money. My money's sitting in the account. But is it really smart for me to go out right now and spend $250 on a dinner? I mean, is it necessary? Like, is it really a big deal? And sometimes it's not about the money. It's about can I give it up tonight? Or can I just replace it for something else? Because that really, it's not the best move, right? And just kind of understanding both sides is really, on my end, I just sit back and really analyze things like that. Because I've been on both sides myself,
And I want to elaborate on that a little bit because I've been on both sides, right? So I found that one of the biggest differences is exactly what you just said. Rich people or people that are self-made, right, have the ability to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow, right? Have the ability to say, nope, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to hang and I'm going to invest for tomorrow. A year from now, I'm better. And a year from now, they're saying the same thing. I'm going to hang. I'm going to, so a year from now, I'm even better. I was just on the phone with my bookkeeper and I said to her, we're creating a new LLC, not incorporating, creating a new LLC for our vertical integration of our property management. Nice. We're just creating a totally new LLC. And she asked me, Martin, how many doors you have now? And I was like, I told her the number and she was like, man, I'm so proud of you. I remember when you only had 2 doors and you had me wait before I started doing your books. She was like, you That's spoke awesome. all of this into existence, right? Now I'm well over 100 doors. And she was like, wow, you like, I remember, right? So my point is just the ability that more affluent people have the ability to sacrifice now for later. Yeah. And on the other side, I will say this, though. I will say this, because you and I both have been on the other side. I've been poor. I grew up in poverty. On the other side, when you have someone that grows up with nothing, and I sympathize and I understand, and it's just when you're going through it, you have to just internalize it and really see it for what it is. When you grow up with nothing, Rose, imagínate, right? Last year or the year before, when the government was pouring money, right? Just giving money to everyone. I don't mind, right? And these people now have all this extra money and they've never had anything. Someone that's never had anything, it's like they go on Instagram and then social media and all this shit, right?
Yep.
All these lies there's on social media. And well, they've never had anything, and this is the opportunity to have something. They don't know better, and they don't have an education. So I'm not making excuses for them at all.
See, yeah.
But I get it. Just, you know what? I deserve that pair of sneakers because, man, I just, you know what I mean? Like, I never had anything before. I deserve that big TV because I never had anything before. So in a way, I kind of get that, because when you come from nothing, and
a
little something, and it just, you just want to do something with it. Something that you're struggling all your life. So that's part of the struggle, which is the reason why Millionaires, when people win the lotto, within 5 years, they lose it because
Lose
it's
it
a
all.
mindset and it's a muscle.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Same
a
with,
muscle.
con las demandas.
Yeah,
La demanda.
La demanda, the lawsuits. Like, yeah, people get this money and they don't know what to do with it. What they do, vacation, the house,
and then poof is gone.
And then they're broke again. So thank you so much, my dear, for being here today with me, sharing your wisdom, sharing your insights with me. Actually, before we go, yes. I got a question for you. I am projecting gas prices are going to hit. And I don't know what they are by you in Jersey, but I'm projecting
they are $3.89 is the cheapest I found today.
Okay, so we've had gas prices increase in the last 10 days in a row, 10, 12 days in a row, every day increase. And some places, and even in California, gas prices are at $6. Wow. I'm projecting $7 to $8, $9 a gallon with this conflict in Russia, right? Because they're the number one oil producer for Europe, right? And now that's going to slow down, all the sanctions, all this stuff. I want to get your feedback as to what do you think is going to happen to collection rates? Do you think that rent collection rates are going to go? Where do you see them going? Do you think they'll stay steady when gas prices soaring the way they are, everything going up the way it is, rents increasing at the rates that they're increasing? Where do you see rent collections, right? Because as a business, as an investor, as a buy and hold investor, that's vacancies, rent collections. Those are big deals. Those are big metrics.
Yeah.
So what do you see when you hear that? What do you see?
I mean, I think other areas will suffer first before rent, because I think enough people know that it's already hard enough finding vacancies, right? Finding a place to live. There's already an issue with low income housing, right? Not enough of it. Mm-hmm. So for those people that are holding on to their apartments, it's kind of precious to them. They're probably not going to pay the car bill before they pay the rent. Mm-hmm. So I think even with rents going up, I think where people are going to pay it. So I don't know that it's going to deter the rental market or slow it down any bit at all. I think from the landlord standpoint, let's say these buildings that are running on oil, right, for heating, that's going to be a different situation where those owners are going to see they're going to get the hit. They're going to get the hit. So
which is going to go to who, right? The tenants.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, on our side, I'm actually looking at buying an electric vehicle for next year, because I'm already looking at the gas and how much that's impacting. I do a lot of driving. I'm in North Jersey, I'm in South Jersey, I'm in the city, now in PA. Hopefully I'll get out there when it's warmer. So now I'm considering, getting myself an EV just to minimize the gas expense and just keep it longer, kind of thing.
Got you. So you're saying that prices will, despite the fact that energy prices go up, people are going to, you don't think that rent delinquencies are going to go up with it. You think that, and even rents going up, you don't think that we're going to see a tipping point there at some point where it's going to have an effect on the renter?
I don't think so. Honestly, I think that with technology now, and we just went through this whole moratorium. I can never say the word. Mm-hmm. But now that that's over, there's a lot of people that did not pay rent, right? That messed up their record with not living rent free for a year. So now you got those people that can't even find an affordable place to move into, that are probably living with relatives or family or in someone's basement, versus the people that can pay their rent, that are still working. And if it goes up 8-10%, it's just going to bite into something else. It's just going to bite into all of the other bills. But I think housing is going to become very a much needed thing, with demand continuing to go up, inventory still low, there's not enough construction for certain areas. I mean, where I'm at right now, like I put some numbers for you. I'm in Teaneck, right? So I'm 10 minutes away from the GWB.
Okay.
We've opened up about 800 new rental units with about 4 new buildings that went up between 2020 and 2021. Vacancy is at a 2%.
Ooh, beautiful.
Home prices, average home price is $499. Average sold price is $530. This is in January, the slowest month of the year. So come spring, I'm like, what are these people going to be paying just to live this close to New York, you know?
Yeah, eat up even more.
So even with rents going up and home prices going up, somewhere like here, where you're so close to a metropolitan area, you're not really going to feel it as much.
Got it. So, okay. So you're
it's just my thoughts.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's a different perspective, which is the whole point of having these conversations, right? To getting different perspectives. All right, my dear. Anything else you want to share? I had a thought.
Nothing.
Se me fue el avión.
No, está bien. This is always great. It's great to talk to you. And, you know, whenever you need me to come on, just let me know.
My dear, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate always our conversations. Thank you for sharing that data with us. It's pretty, that's where my mind went. I'm a data guy. So
yeah.
I started listening to data. My brain goes to the data, right? In real estate, in order to be successful, you better know your numbers. You better pay attention to the data, right? I'm just curious. I know you have your data there in front of you. How many units are on the market there in your marketplace? Do you have that?
49 units on the market.
49 for rents. Those are 49 rentals.
No, 49 for sale.
For sale. Wow.
For sale, Martin.
Wow. 49. That's in Teaneck, or what was that? Bergen County? Is that Bergen County?
No, just Teaneck, the township of Teaneck, but we're one of the largest townships in Bergen County. We have the most population.
Oh, just 49. And you guys, whoa. Wow.
We have 2,300 homes, only 49 listings right now.
Wow. So those of you watching and paying and listening to us, learn how to find good deals, guys. Learn how to find good deals. You know, that is fortunate for us. We've figured out how to market. We have a marketing system here in house where we're constantly marketing and looking for motivated sellers, and it's just that machine is constantly going. But if you want to get into space, or if you're playing the space because you probably hear it a lot, or Rose. Oh, I can't find deals. The deals are hard. Like, that's your story. I don't have. That's not my story. Like, by the way, Rose, we just put and I'm just talking to my friend here, so it's on the air, but I'm talking to my friend. We just put a 38 unit on the contract, so we'll be talking about that and bringing on some we'll be looking for partners on that right up the street from the office. So we'll talk about that off the air. But anyways, thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for spending time with me. I truly, 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 truly appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your insights. And if people want to reach you, they want to connect with you, they maybe want to join your community because you have an awesome community. How can they find you? Where can they find you? How can they connect with you? Please let them know.
Yes. So on Instagram, I'm at urbanteach_. I have a website with all of my services and products and membership group information. That is urbanteachnyc.com. And I just opened up a few slots every month for one-on-one private coaching. So that's the details for that are also noted on the website. So
perfect. And I'll make sure that we put that in the notes and in the comments. And guys, if you're watching this and you appreciate this content, drop us a thumbs up and leave your comments, leave your questions for Rose. And I'll make sure that she answers them. All right, guys.
I will. Of course I will.
Guys. Thank you. And have a great day.
Thank you, Marian.